YouTube. Now, we always bring you a little bit of fun on these Fridays with our videos. Today, we've got a live session. We're a week out from the IFPA Global Summit, less than a week. And we're going to talk about some products. I met this gentleman back in August in person when we were doing our grape taste test live at the Indianapolis Fruit Showcase. And today we've got Douglas Raggio, who has passed the honey. That's right. We are going to physically, literally pass the honey today. We're going to try it. We're going to explore it. And we're going to get educated on it because this product, I can tell you, is something that I have just been introduced this year. And we're going to find out more from Douglas. So let's go ahead and grab Douglas from the green room and get him on the line today, everyone. Douglas, how we doing?
Good, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I got the product in hand.
I see the retail caddy at the ready.
It's set up. I mean, I got a lot of crap in the background, but I have it set up as it would look if it was in a retail setting, right?
Correct. That is our retail caddy.
There we go, baby. So
a little bit of education, a little bit of showcasing the product, easy to slot. Boom.
That's what it's about. You got signage, display, and pricing. You got those three things. You got a product in a retail setting, right?
Well, we hope so.
So, you and I met, a couple months ago back at the Indie Fruit Showcase during our grape taste test live.
We met on the Equifruit.
The conference call. I met in person.
Yes, in person. Yes.
Sorry. So we met digitally, and then we met in person. And it was great because, Indie Fruit carries the product now. I mean, I've seen that and a lot of other companies. We're going to dive into this product, everyone. But again, it's one of those times where you meet somebody and all of a sudden you're like, what do you do? And then they show you the product. Again, I'm a fan of the product, but I still have to be educated into this, Douglas, because it's kind of crazy because my wife's like, what do I do with this still? Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
not a common question.
No, it's definitely not. So before we get into trying this product, and everybody, we're going to try it. I think we're going to get our hands a little sticky today. I've got my waters. I've got the product ready to wipe my hands down with. I'm ready to go. Napkins ready. I even got some fresh juice from Citrus America here.
You're very prepared.
Give us a bit of an overview, Douglas. Just give the viewers an overview of the kind of the product and what you got going on real quick.
The product's real simple. Pass the Honey is an individually portioned, regeneratively sourced honeycomb. Most consumers have never tried honeycomb. It's traditionally in a big brick, but as you showed, we just have it in individual portions. The regenerative sourcing is, there's a lot more to that. It's kind of like an iceberg. We encourage consumers to try honey in its truest form and re-educate around honey fraud and talk about regenerative practices and the links we go to for, honeybee health, beekeeper livelihoods, and ecological diversity.
That's pretty cool.
Supply chain story. Yeah, it's more supply chain story for like the back end, but the front end is it's a unique and novel new way to consume honey. Again, you said your wife asked, how do I use this? We get asked almost every week online, how do you get the honey in there? And like, is that how far removed we are from our food system that, the consumers don't know where honey comes from? And sadly, I think the answer is yes. So there it is. Like, this is where honey comes from. Try it. That's what real honey tastes like. Try it. How do you use it? A multitude of ways.
There's a lot of ways. I mean, and you can even stick this honeycomb fully inside your tea. And again, we're going to have a couple other questions out there because I know for a fact I've gotten some questions as I was preparing for this that a few people were like, wait a minute, though. Is that a produce item? Is that a grocery item? Right. We're going to get into that.
Did you get any vegans? Vegans are like, it's like 50-50 and like if beef products.
100%. We did. We did have Maddie Fisher reached out and she said that to us. She was like, hey, I'm vegan. That was her first. And I was like, so you can't have honey? So
50-50.
I guess vegans.
All of our research, it is there's just a dividing line. It is derived from an animal, but it's an insect. honey in general is completely, it's a mess. I guess that's the easiest way to put it. Yeah, it's
It's like it's a
the more
mess.
we peel the onion, the more we learn. It's like, man, this is a wreck. So that's part of the ethos of the company is, yes, we are novel. Yes, we are, a consumable food. Yes, we're a fresh cut item. But like, there's a tremendous amount of lift to educate around fraud, educate around beekeeping practices, uses, benefits.
So we got our first comment that came in.
Saw that.
And Maddie said, I'll eat the honey.
Yes.
And she said she's vegan. So there's that 50-50 that you said. So Maddie's gonna definitely try this. I mean, look at this. It looks kind of cool. I mean, Doug, if you really look at it, you're like, all right. But I will say, don't you think this is, as a consumer though, you might pass this on the shelf because you're like, what do I do with this, right? So that's also another thing. Just like mangoes. Like I had a problem with mangoes for years, Doug, where I was like, I had one bad mango and I was like one bad apple, right? I was just like, should I buy another one ever again, right? So
there's a time, Patrick, where people didn't know how to open a banana. So, didn't know how to eat a pistachio. So that's really the kind of, if I look back at what this company mimics, it's definitely like bananas at the turn of the century. They're foreign, they're exotic, they don't know how to eat it, they don't know why they're eating it, but it's delicious. So there's a long road ahead. But that is really where I go back to is, pistachios have a uniqueness, and there's a certain, people have their own techniques for eating a pistachio. People have their own techniques for eating sunflower seeds. The
whole same thing. You're right, though. I mean, Ross Nelson just chimed in and said, honey, Indie Fruit sells this. But on top of that, speaking of Ross, I'm going to bring up something else with Ross, is like how he eats his cherries. Like he keeps the pits inside of his mouth, and he says he does that like one of these celebrities does it. Ross, chime in if you know which celebrity that is. But it's like he keeps them in the cheeks and then spits out the pits later, and I'm like, this is why I don't eat cherries. Like I'm like, this is why. Like he keeps it in, eats it, and then spits it out. Like I'm like, why would you keep the pit in your mouth? And he's like, to me, it's like, this is why I don't eat cherries. Like perfect example.
But when you did eat cherries, how did you? Because I think I eat it, and
I didn't. I still don't eat cherries.
So there's your stopping point.
All right, okay. Ross jumped in and said, Guy Fieri is the guy. So I'm right. He literally will eat them, and the pit goes like he's a squirrel or something. Like.
I'll tell you, the honeycomb has the wax, right? That's what it is. It's the comb. People like gum. People hate it. Gets stuck in people's teeth. There's this weird. Again, back to pistachio or sunflower seeds. Like there's a weird. Your mouth knows what it's doing, and so like the first time I had comb in my teeth, I had absolutely miserable experience. I was chopping it from a brick. It was like left on the counter. A whole bunch of ants came into the house. I was like, this is not an enjoyable experience. But I think after like 3 or 4 combs, you just start to I use my tongue. I smash against the roof of my mouth. I get all the honey out. I chew the wax. And I end up spitting the wax out. Some people I know swallow it. It's just like, it's just a weird little item. But it goes back to Maddie's point. It's natural. Like it's from bees, from flowers. So, it is, it has a terroir like wine. It takes on the flavor of its topography, which is super interesting when you start to nuance it out and where we're sourcing and what the flavor profile looks like from a Mexico source versus, a Turkish source versus a Japanese source versus a Canadian source. And we get to educate about all that.
There's another good comment by Maddie. She said, I'd like it in a smaller container because the big ones take forever to get out or they get hard and you have to thaw them in warm water. Is that an experience some of the competitors or some of your customers tell you about some of the competitors out there, Doug?
That is the #1 complaint by chefs in particular. Most Americans know honeycomb because of charcuterie boards. That's kind of the first. If it isn't cereal, they ask us about charcuterie boards. And yeah, chefs, to cut it out of that like 14-ounce brick, you don't cut it all at once, and you don't know what to do with it afterwards. It attracts ants. They get sticky and they stick together as well. So you might pull one from the shelf, the other one drops, breaks. I didn't realize there was a ton of loss in like conventionally portioned honeycomb. Where the innovation for our company came in was the individual portioning is actually patented. So we worked a good amount of time with some, smart folks to make sure that we had that ability to bring a convenient format to something that's been, around for decades, centuries, but, decades in grocery or decades in food service.
In food service too, yeah.
So that breakage, that loss, that usage, that waste is all very. A chef knows the problem more on the portioning than your average consumer. But
I was gonna say, because I am not sure how we're gonna eat this and it not be a complete mess. You're gonna teach me though, right? We're gonna do this together.
there's some pro tips.
Yeah, I'm intimidated. I'm like looking at this, like, all right, like he just said this thing's gonna get stuck in my teeth. Like, I don't want you in my teeth. I'm like, I'm like, I don't want you in my teeth. I just want
people do. Some people love pulp. I hate pulp. My brother is a pulp machine. I think it gets like, ugh, get it out.
My dad loves a little pulp too. I mean, even this fresh juice that I have, I mean, from the juicing machine that I have here, I mean, yes, you get some of the pulp in here, but it's so very little. It's not like when you get it in the stores, like extra pulp. I can't do that. It'll make you gag a little bit. But hold on, I got a couple comments. Oh, Ross is still on the Guy Fieri. He taught that on the Food Network. So as one of his quick tips and tricks. I like that Maddie jumped right back in and was like, hey, Ross, you are weird. Okay.
I don't know how much of a tip.
We're just going to throw it out there, guys and gals. Like Maddie jumped in with the Ross, you're weird. Why? I don't even the sunflowers. I got people that keep like the sunflower seeds in the side of their mouth and they spit them out. Like, just, I want to eat it and be done with it, Doug.
Teach their own.
I want to eat it and quit it. That's it, man. I want to be like, all right, done. That's like even pistachios nowadays. Thank goodness to Wonderful, okay? Because no sponsors or affiliations, but like, dude, I just buy the what are they? The shellless pistachios now, and because that bag of shells with 3 kids will end up on a floor in a car.
It's like a Texas bar room, a honky tonk at the end, yeah.
Yeah, like the steakhouses where all the peanuts are just, you're walking through and all you're walking is on peanut shells all the way through the bar. Yeah, don't want that. But you're right. I mean, those are things that added value does help, right? And again, looking at what you're doing with regenerative ag, and again, look at this. I keep saying look at it because you have to understand when you're going through a store, like it's an added value product here, even all the way down to the container. I mean, even down to the packaging. I love the packaging one because it looks like you could take a picture behind this. You know what I mean? You can use this as a backdrop. There's your backdrop right there.
It's actually purple because of royal jelly. That was kind of the tie-in.
Really?
Yeah. What is that? What is your?
You like that?
Yeah.
We'll spin out.
No, I mean, so if you look back at like honeycomb, it's in a brick, to Maddie's point. It's stacked usually top or bottom shelf in the honey set, and it's never been merchandised properly. So now we have a convenient portion, which gives broad uses. We have an ability to merchandise next to stone fruits, any sort of breakfast bowl items, nuts, berries, things of that nature for charcuterie board accoutrements. The possibilities for a retailer or a food service chef to add it to menus as a value add or an upsell to breakfast bowls. We have garnishes for cocktails. I guess the bee's knees is a hot cocktail now, and the hot toddy is coming back, which is really kind of where I started using honeycomb. I was aware of honey fraud and was putting honey in my lemon ginger teas, and knew I was putting suspect liquid honey in my tea, and decided to start using honeycomb, and had that same experience that Maddie had, that it's just a waste. And why isn't this individually portioned? And that was, one of the genesis of the company, if genesis is a word.
I do like the charcuterie board aspect because my wife and I were down in St. Pete for our monthly date night.
That's the oldest city in the United States, by the way.
It's the what?
Oldest city in the United States, I believe.
I don't know. I don't live there, so I can't quote you or confirm nor deny. Okay. But we went to one of those nice restaurants right on the, just right on the bay there. and we got a charcuterie board, and it had honey on it, but it had honey in the, just right on the plate, and you could scoop it and put it on. I could tell you this would be a wow factor if you had like the comb and everything on there. Again, when you get something that you're not normally allowed to touch, right? You want.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to touch a beehive. They really want to. Okay, they do. But they don't want to get stung, right? I mean, my wife and I have been talking about doing the beehive experience, where you actually dress up in the suits, take my son just to do, the experience of some of these places. And it's like, my son's like, oh, I really want to do it. I'm like, yeah. He's like, don't want to do it because I'm going to get stung. I'm like, you're not supposed to get stung. He's like, yeah, I'm good. But he wants to touch it. He wants to do the experience, right? So, yeah, it's crazy. Let's throw a couple comments real quick, Doug. We got, Maddie confirmed.
St. Augustine. I was stand corrected, and she's absolutely correct.
The oldest, listen, I'm not going to lie. Maddie normally is correct. Just saying, Maddie, I only say that about a few good women, and you're one of them. The next one is
plastic one.
Yes. I'm going to jump on that one next. We have my guy, John Papp. Shout out to John Papp. Jack Vandenberg. They are a choice sponsor of the podcast, Doug. Love the concept, but for the packaging, what about an alternative plastic? Maybe some bio-based materials. Doug, this is on you, brother.
100%. And it would be a disservice to the brand if we spent all that effort on the regenerative honey and didn't have it in a responsible packaging. There is a weight consideration. There's also the fact that we are a semi-solid, semi-liquid. There's a catalyst between honey and other materials as well, because of its acidity. We use post-consumer upcycled. So it is 100% post-consumer upcycled. Both the tray, the lidding film is not. That is an industry-wide problem. And all of our boxes are post-consumer corrugate. So we try to keep plastics in circulation. From the research we did, it's the ability to keep plastics rotating through the system is actually more beneficial than using virgin plastic. So that's what we decided because of weight and everything else and breakage. So.
All right, John. I hope you heard all of that. A couple, let's see. Oh, Ken Dunner said, honey in my pomegranate green tea is so delectable, scrumptiously, deliciously, edibly tasty good.
Words.
Ken, my man. I love it. He always has some good things to say. Ross threw it in with the smiley face, the laughing smiley face.
You asked about pro tips earlier, and I'll drop one right now is for tea use, and the honeycomb in particular, because of the wax. The wax will melt in hot tea, and then it will reconstitute. My mother actually puts it in a paper tea filter, so for easy cleanup. Some people like the cleanup. Some people believe, it's like back to the pulp conversation. But that ability to, dump it in a paper tea filter and then pull it out when it's all dissolved, it just makes it for an easy clean.
I'd be the easy clean. A couple fun comments we're going to throw in here, okay? Ross says to Maddie, it's not a contest on comments. I agreed with Maddie on this one. Ready? Who is our number one fan? Let's find out who comments the most. And then we've got a rebuttal, Doug, from Maddie to Ross. Ross Nelson, if it was, you'd be the winner because you are the boss. Ross, the produce boss. I love that people have their own conversations in our chat room. That's the best part of this. Ross jumped back in, though, and said honey on toast, English muffin is breakfast treat. I agree. One thing that my mom introduced to me as a kid was when we had toast in the morning, she would drizzle honey on the toast. And that was like a delicacy, right? I mean, you can have butter, right? But you put some honey on toast and
changer.
Hey, makes you think your mom really loves you in the morning, huh?
I had a physical therapist once because busted knee, who had a client that was 103 years old, and every morning he had honeycomb and toast. And I was like, there's no correlation, but it just came out. I was like, that's interesting.
That's nice.
That was his routine for God knows how many years. But it's just, you get that pattern.
It's true. I mean, it's so true. What else? Any other comments? Oh, got a couple other viewers that are jumping on. Let's what's up? What were you gonna say?
There's a battle going on in the comments.
Oh, I love it. John Pandel jumped in and he just says, "Don't get me started." John, you've been started since you were about 16 years old. Why stop now, buddy? There's no point to stop. Okay, so you're already going. So, let's see what we. Oh, this is nice. Ken jumped back in and said, "Douglas, you are such a gem of a gentleman, a human being, and a friend of mine, and to millions who shares his goodness with others for the betterment of humankind." Hey, Ken,
Man,
thank you.
yeah. Ken, I don't know you, but I appreciate you. Thank you.
That's nice, man. We appreciate it. Ken's a great guy here on LinkedIn. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. John jumped in. Honey on biscuits. Game over. Mic drop. It's done. We're gonna try this, everyone. Here's the crazy thing.
That reminds me.
We are going to literally open this up, and I don't know the best way to do this. I think we're probably just gonna have to feel this bat. Look at it. Let's take a look, everyone. Ooh.
The camera's not doing it. It's the glistening. It's missing that glistening golden look.
It does. I know. I'm trying to get it in the light the right way, you know? Try to get it shiny for us.
I love it.
Oh man. And so I mean just feeling it through. It's not completely hard. I got to keep this up a little more so we can see this. And so
you can just go with your fingers.
I'm going. I mean that's what I'm going to do. I got back up here. We're good. Pull one of these out now. I mean,
twist and pull, man. That's the easiest way. Just
all right. So let's
pull it.
Let's put Doug to the back. So Doug, we can still hear you. Okay. So you want me to go ahead and just grab this, right?
You can grab with your fingers. There's like a little center part that you can grab onto. It's a little more weight, or you can get a spoon. It's up to you, man. To each their own again.
Oh man. Try to get this out of there. Oh my gosh.
Oh, you got a good chunk. All of it. Crush it.
You're saying just you're saying just put this in my mouth?
Yeah, the whole thing. Whole thing. And then smash your tongue against the roof, let it ooze, and then enjoy it.
Crap. Well,
let it sit, let it marinate, feel the texture of the honey.
Well, it's definitely on the roof of your mouth.
The Ken's comment, yes, the honeycomb is entirely edible. You can swallow it. You can spit it. Now, Patrick, that is what real pollen-produced honey tastes like. Honey's the third most fraudulent food on the planet, behind olive oil and milk. And 70% of most liquid honeys on shelves is blended syrups and sugars. So there is this, sad fact that many consumers may not know what real honey tastes like. And this is, an ability for them to taste. You can't fake honeycomb. You can fake liquid honey all day.
Wow.
That, visual proof, an insect made that. It pollinated 125,000 flowers were pollinated for that 1 tablespoon of honey you just put in your mouth. A lot of bees died for that honey. You better enjoy it.
It's amazing. I can't even talk still, but the flavor,
yeah,
hands down amazing. Well, that's what we're gonna
do. I love it. For those that don't like the wax, a lot of times you just put it on toast. You don't even notice it. Just smear it on, and then the toast, masks or.
I did. Okay. Oh man. Okay. Let's.
You there, buddy?
Doug.
Hey, we're back.
Well, which is interesting is so we just had a full power boot in our studio, full on everything just shut off and then came back on. So there's a chance it could be either raining outside that I don't know, which is totally fine. It happens, everyone, especially when you're doing this over. We do have more of the chat, so I think we definitely see what's coming in. Can you consume the honeycomb was the last. We also had John and Lady in Bakersfield from Nazi-occupied France said family would give honey to those escaping to Spain. Portable, non-perishable, very calorie dense per weight. What is the shelf life of honey? Is honey prepper food? Oh, that's a good question.
John has an education. Yes, we actually have a prepper audience. It doesn't expire, so honey has infinite shelf life. Honeycomb in particular, and it is incredibly nutrient dense, and that's part of the liquid honey fraud. Takes all the nutritional density out through blending with syrups and sugars. So if you're looking for nutritional density, kind of the only thing you can trust is really comb. Currently, with as much fraud as there is in the marketplace. But yeah, I did not expect we would have a prepper audience because of the nutritional density and the infinite shelf life. And I did not know about, families occupied France, which is a factoid I'm going to go look more into. So thank you, John.
Yeah, John Pandel has a lot. We have to throw some jokes in here now because this is what it is, Doug. So you've been hacked by the Russians.
I didn't see that one.
We now pause for this short station identification break.
That's Jesse.
A couple others. Patrick is frozen. Lowercase p for some reason on that.
Some finesse in that.
And lowercase p on that one. Doug, you're good. You're good, brother. You were good the whole time.
Yes, I was just hanging out, staring at myself awkwardly with people watching me.
You should have kept it going. A couple other comments too that we had, which was pretty interesting. History time. Which civilization was the first to construct the most elaborate system for honey production? From John Papp. Ooh.
Say that. Is that a question? Where is that at?
Which well, when it froze, so I'm reading it from LinkedIn now. Which civilization was the first to construct the most elaborate system for honey production?
I know they found honey in King Tut's tomb that was still edible even when they opened it. So that's
John.
Whatever.
Yeah, John, type in the comments. Let us know what it is. He said, or did he say it already?
Alexander the Great. Honey is absolutely amazing. Like, it doesn't expire. It's nutritionally dense. It's antimicrobial, antifungal, antibacterial. It's used for wound care. He said that they submerged him in a vat of honey. Like, that's how they preserved bodies back in the day. it's fascinating and how
Well,
bees.
I think you said it. So John wrote Egyptians.
Yes.
So even though it's beekeeping, I mean, you said they moved. You already said the tombs. I mean, that's where it was. John, another funny joke. The emergency broadcast service. Where was the beep? I don't think I'm going to live that one down, Doug. I mean, it blinked. We shut off. Which is a perfect example of why I should have a battery backup system in here.
That's the links you're going to go to. You just do it in bomb shelter. I mean, call it a day. I'll send you honeycomb for the shelter. We'll be fine.
It's a prepper item. I've heard.
Yeah, that and your canned beans, and you'll live for months.
Listen, I'm just saying. Let's see. Maddie said, "Oh, they are back." Yeah, Maddie. It took a few seconds. We might have to edit the video. We had some technical difficulties, everyone, which is totally fine. John said, "Honey is so old school, like Play-Doh old school." Okay, John, I get that one. Oh, John, another joke. Okay, this guy's got jokes all day. Pay your power bill. John, I'm in one of those offices where they pay all the bills and utilities, so I'll double check with I'll double check with the studio to make sure that they paid Tico this month. Definitely. What do you got? Yeah, Ross, we know. Look, everybody's got me now. You could buy a power backup. Yeah, yes, I could, but when the internet shut, it wasn't my office, it was the whole studio. So even if it did, the internet still would have gone out because the internet is different than your other boxes. So yeah, hopefully I'm going to get a battery backup. Let's see a couple other comments. Just checking on LinkedIn again. We saw Jesse's comment. Ken said, "Savor the flavor, Doug. Great narrative skills today." Ken's a nice guy, man. Very, very nice guy. So let's get back though, because we cut out right when we were talking about my experience with with it. So your expert advice was just go ahead and stick it to the top of your mouth. I did not know what you meant.
My experience.
But I didn't know what you meant when you said, and let the honey just fall. So it did. It fell, it glazed my tongue. So once I put it to the roof of my mouth, it completely glazed my tongue. I mean, it feels like a lot. It's sweet, right? So it's like your whole mouth. That's why I say my cheeks were getting tingly. Like it was a good experience in my mouth. Everything about it was fun.
One of the more surreal experiences I had. So I had started this company 5+ years ago, and I'd never taken a moment to taste, like really truly taste the comb. And so we had a sommelier come in and do a whole tasting program with us. So we have a honeycomb tasting program that's been built by a sommelier. It talks about where things hit, and we spent a half an hour tasting one comb.
Oh dang!
There's a moment, because the wax is savory and the honey is sweet, that depending if you bite it, you get more sweet forward and then it ends savory, or if you eat the whole thing, it's more savory forward and ends sweet. And there's a moment where it hits this, like, I don't know, call it perfect balance. That is, I've just never had an experience where something transforms from sweet to savory or savory to sweet, and right in that little pocket, it's just like, what is happening? So
I agree.
What you're referring to is
that's the experience. I would say is as Jeff Watkins says, the products is the bee's knees, no pun intended. Jokes are coming all day. Ross said that too. The jokes are flowing on here. It's like sitting in a comedy club. Hey, Ross, for your entertainment. Hold on. Ross Nelson, equal backup battery sponsor at Double Secret Probation Studios.
What is this? Double Secret Probation Studios? What is that?
That's so John Pandle is Pandle Brothers Grapes.
Got it.
And so I'm always like, hey, John, you should become a sponsor. So we're like, we pitched him on this mobile sponsor, and he was like, if I was a sponsor of the show, it'd be the Double Secret Probation Studios.
It's now in John's court to get the backup battery.
So John, bring the backup battery. I'll bring the rest of the equipment. Hold on. We got John Papp asked John Pandle a question. You know what, Doug? Why don't you read this question?
Why? Because you can't say those words, and you're going to make me try to butcher it. John Pandel. How about Anaxagoras of Clazomenea?
That was good, bro. That was actually pretty good.
Best attempt.
Let's see if John Pandel responds. This is a very fun session today.
How far back do these relationships go? Like, I'm just learning the produce industry, and I find it incredibly refreshing. It's people that get work done, put in a good day's work, do good work, best practices for the earth. And it's not the same in CPG, which is where I came from, Center Store. And I'm noticing a lot of people have tenure. Like, it's, fathers, daughters, brothers, sisters, family, generational businesses. And I think it's being reflected in the comments. Like, people know each other for a while here. They've worked together for decades.
I mean, a lot of us do business. I would say, like, hold on. Crickets. That means he doesn't know. Oh, but going back, I mean, yes, I mean, the Pandel family has, 4 generations. The John Papp and his family go back 4 generations. A lot of immigrants coming. Myself, 3rd generation. My grandmother started at the grocery store working in the produce department. My dad worked at the grocery store, and then he went into corporate and then partnered up with farmers, right? So, and then like even my kids.
What is it about the produce industry that just like, I don't see that handoff of generations in many industries.
All right, listen, amazing. It just depends. It really depends, this is what, and my dad might even call bluff and be like, I said that. So my dad said to me, when we were younger, I mean, he got me into grocery. I worked at Winn-Dixie. I worked at Walgreens. I picked oranges as a kid. And it was more or less as an immigrant family. My dad's an immigrant from Canada. We are his first boys born here in the United States. And he had that mentality of work hard, not even work hard, play hard. It was like, work hard, man. That's what you got to do.
Values.
This is what it is. So, he was all about, preaching to us about values of good work ethic, how to be involved in work. And he'd always laugh at all these people that had job security. My dad was an entrepreneur, and he also worked for people throughout his life, kind of like same that I've done. I'm an entrepreneur, but I've also worked for people as well. And, I would always ask him growing up, and he always wanted me to get an ag degree, which I did not get. I did not get an ag degree. And I would say, why all the time? I'm like, why? And Dad said to me, he goes, what are 2 things that people can't live without on this earth? Man, what am I going to say at like 16? I'm like, money and girls. Right here.
Corvette, right? It's just for good measure.
Yeah, like, what's up? No. And my dad was like, food and water. Yeah. 2 things people can't live without is food and water. So no matter if there's a recession, if there's war, if there's peace, if everything's normal, if there's a pandemic, truly people still drink water and eat food. And then it got down to the level where he had a good friend that, was in farming, and he partnered up with one of his friends. And then we were fortunate enough to get involved in that business and go through management training programs and learning all this stuff about the farm. And then you start to realize, or at least what I did. And when we started exporting for the first time, or not like the company, but me, like I was a buyer, I did all this stuff. And then when I really started to understand that this little thing that we're floating on in space is so small, and you start looking that our agriculture industry is one of the largest industries next to like entertainment, because people eat food, breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack all day long, 24 hours a day. So there's a real big passion in that. So if you talk to someone like John Papp or John Pandel, Ross Nelson, these guys that are here, that are on this today, their families go back. Ross Nelson's family owned farms out in Michigan. He always talks about this wild blueberry that I'm always like, I wouldn't have ate it. He's like, I ate it, man. He's like, we ate it. All the way, like I said, John Pandel, who they're immigrants from the old country. You know what I mean? And in Europe.
John wrote in the chat about the families or the tribal knowledge, and that's been lost in so many industries. Like I said, I'm coming into produce eyes wide open and just trying to take it all in. So it is, I have a strong admiration for the produce industry, the people that work it from the farm, all to the retailers, the merchandisers, to the brokers. It is just CPG, center store, has lost its way. A lot of venture capital and a lot of entitlement and like next new whiz bang thing. And but it's a energy bar with a different flavor, or it's a bone broth with this, or
Yeah.
just or it's heavy branding. I don't know. It's like I said, I just sit back and going to more events like the Indie Fruit Showcase, going to IFPA. I'll go to my first IFPA next week.
Yeah,
So
next week.
you have any tips for me as a first timer other than just walk the floor? Let me know.
Yeah, black raspberries, get it right is what Ross says. So get the raspberries right that he's eaten as a kid. Hold on. He had a natural patch, half acre in size. So much fun eating dishes and goods by mom made. You see, that's what you get out of it. I mean, even myself, my mom. So it's so crazy because if you were to talk to my brothers and I are 3, 2, 1 year apart, right? And it's so funny because we all had different experiences growing up. Like I can tell you, I like felt I grew up on a ranch because we had like a little half acre of property with some avocados and some apples. And me being till like I was 7, to me that's like, oh my God, this is it, right? Like we had people come and pick our avocados, right? Not knowing that all we did was sell it to them like it was going to a farmer's market, right? But my older brother didn't see that as an experience, right? But I told my mom one day, I said, you need to come in and we need to do like a on the couch session with my mom, because my mom used to work at farmers markets when obviously she met my dad. They got together when they were 17, 18 years old. And my mom worked at farmers markets like in her 20s. And I remember going to the farmers markets with my mom and getting like fresh squeezed lemonade and like watching them put the fruits out and the vegetables out and things like that. So it's like those are some of the memories. And it's crazy because as I tell Douglas to my son, Ty, who walks around trade shows with me, and he's so passionate about fruits and vegetables. And if you ever see him, go to my YouTube, check him out. He's amazing. And it's like I told him this the other day. He goes, Dad, he goes, when I get older, I want to be a chef. And I was like, that's amazing. I said, I think that's going to be awesome. And he goes, I always know if that doesn't work out, I got a fallback plan. I'm like, this kid's got a fallback plan at 10?
I don't have a fallback plan right now. I'm screwed.
And I'm like, what's your fallback plan, dude? He's like, I'll just have you get me a job. And I'm like, and I thought to myself, though, I said, you know what? You're right. I said, with what you're doing today with me, I said, going to dragon fruit farms and going out of country with me. He's been to China, Japan, Korea, going to different markets. I go, it doesn't matter if you're 18, I said, or 12. I said, if you're an expert, Ty, and you could tell someone how to cut dragon fruit, grow dragon fruit, I said, 100% right. I said, I guarantee you I could probably get you a job. I said, the only difference is, I said, you're going to have to keep all those smarts up. And he's like, as long as they put me in a field, he's like, I got it. And so, but even then, there's there right there. And John Papp or John Pandle, I mean, please jump in, because I have spent time with John Pandle on the road. We've gone from Tampa to Tennessee together. And from him being 60 years old and me being 37, there was no age gap at all. And because we had the same passion, the same talks. I mean, I get goosebumps talking about this because he said it, right? It's like he's part of the tribe, but it's like that's what it's about. Like I'm going to another tribe and being, John's the grape tribe, and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm the citrus tribe, and then we're sharing stories of hey, when you were 20, what were you doing? And he was like, oh, Pat, we were doing this, and I'm like, man, I was doing this, and even though we're 20 to 30 years apart, it's still the same, and it shows. And then even John sees it in my kids and my wife and things like that. So
what you're saying is that there's not that tribal knowledge and handout of my family used to make RX bars back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, but but there's always a story, right? There's always a story to say this is why I got into it and this is what I'm doing. But yeah, man, I mean, anything that I could tell you for advice for a networking guy. I know we're getting more into like having just a casual talk, but it's like, yeah, just go around and say hello to everybody. Don't try and sell. These shows are not to sell anybody. Be around the bars, be around the food, be engaged. Don't sleep in. get out, be at the breakfasts at 6:45, 7 o'clock in the morning, be ready to shake hands, and be ready for people to tell you no, and I think that's one of the biggest things is we have to communicate to the network that we're building a community of like-minded people, and this product is part of your community, and that's it, man. I mean, have a great time, and I would say don't miss out on the education sessions. Don't think the trade show floor is the overall overcoming winner, because I believe education is one of the keys there too.
For the
So we do have someone jumping in. Hold on. How do you eat dragon fruit? What a question. So Ken, I want you to go on YouTube, check out the Produce Industry Show, and we will show you 2 ways on how to cut and eat dragon fruit. So you got to check that out. My son Ty actually took over the video and shows me how to cut and eat dragon fruit. So Ken, you got to check that out.
I want Ty to do a video on how to eat honeycomb.
Oh man, he'll do it. He's one of those guys that'll try anything. Like he's like, let me see. All right, I'll try this. So he would try it. And he actually, Doug, that's a crazy thing. My wife told me, she goes, don't feel bad if your son doesn't get into produce. She goes, because I think you want him to get into produce. And I said, I would love it if he got into produce, right? But then I said, but I also want him to love what he does, right? And that was one of the things where I told Ty, I said, do you love produce? So I was getting the video for Ken. So, do you love produce? And he was like, yeah, I do. So I'm like, hey, I'm not doing anything wrong. Ken, I went ahead and put the video in the comments so you can see them. Hopefully you can see them. It's on YouTube. And then we got John Pandel jumped in again and said, to get and maintain food supply has always been a challenge, but we must approach the challenge of the age with the tools of the age. So same job, different century, different tools. Great comment there, John.
So kind of bridging back to the tribe, and if honeycomb, predominantly honey gets thrown in the center store, I think unfairly, especially with the role that bees play in our food system, right? Somebody mentioned
true
services. So kind of what we're asking the industry is you wouldn't merchandise the apples with the apple juice, so why would you put the honeycomb with the liquid honey? And we are cut pack operation where there's no manufacturing processes, there's no SOPs and things. And that's really what we're saying is there's an incremental basket build that we can bring a knowledge and awareness to the produce set with this novel new way of consuming and merchandising honeycomb. We got a big ring, we got big velocity, we don't expire. So if you're looking for a shrink buster for a set, we got a small square footage and we move a lot of volume.
That's what I said. Look how I just moved it over to the side just to put it back in frame. Yeah. And it was perfect. Couple more comments, because you said you want Ty to go ahead and try the honeycomb. Well, guess what Ken said? I want to see you showing a video preparing dragon fruit.
I'll trade Ty.
Little trade off here. John Papp came back in of the tribal context again. 100%. The only threat today is big corps trying to stamp out the family businesses. Need to remain focused on relationships and not just the bottom line, maximizing profits. That's so true. John and I, it took us a bit to put a sponsorship together because it didn't fit the right time and the right period. And now it does. And now John and I are working on a new segment of produce history. So we're trying to incorporate ways to teach people about their food and their ecosystem in there. So like I said, it almost takes time. And you're right, John, it's not about maximizing the profit, maximizing the sale. Sometimes it's just getting people. I would say your success, this would be success to me at IFPA. You ready? I'm going to challenge Doug, okay? And I'm going to challenge every one of you out there. If you see Doug and he challenges you to put this in your mouth and do what I just did at the show, I challenge Doug to get rid of a whole case. That you're going to meet new people. Okay? Easy. The kicker is, I want you to send a picture to me.
Ball 24.
Okay? You got to get people you got to get someone to take a picture. And out of one of those people, we're going to give them a free podcast episode.
Okay.
So we got to get that. I'm just listen, little challenge.
Hey, back real quick, back to what you were saying with John and the education. So we're a sponsor of the National Spelling Bee. And like right now, we're working on a program for a week of in-school programming to educate around regenerative ag practices, the roles that bees play. I would love to collaborate on what lessons you're trying to impart, because that's a national program. And we're actually looking for retailers to partner with as well.
Oh, good idea.
Community engagement. I mean, our offer is we're buying a honeycomb for every student that enrolls. Right now it's regional, but we're trying to go national. Yeah, we want to encourage students to enroll in the spelling bee. And if they know the words, they can know the concepts and make better choices in their food choices. That's the aim.
I like it. I like it.
So let me know if you want to chat, another time about that, but it's going to be.
And then we can talk about how to get everybody else involved. Someone asked on Facebook for the link to dragon fruit. So there's the link. You can't click it, but you could type it in for right now. That'll show you the link. Everybody too, we want to let you know, Doug, go ahead and start letting people know where they can find you. So if people want to reach out to you, I'm going to go ahead and put all of your information up as you're talking to get people. So go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, I mean, you can find us at passthehoney.com. That's the website. You can email me directly at douglas@passthehoney.com. Indie Fruit, Ross, the produce boss, Indie Fruit distributes us, as does Melissa's. So if there are any retailers that want to pick that up. And we have a number of food service accounts that are also opening up. So that's kind of our new push, is into the chef world. Yeah. Email.
And I love it. I mean, you can follow them on Facebook, Instagram, at Pass the Honey. Always, if you're looking to get more involved, like I said, he mentioned a couple of those distributors out there. Pass the Honey is, again, an item that you got to take in and try, and not just, again, it's not my traditional honey in a little bear jar, move on, right? You got to look at it in a different point of view to say, I'm going to try something new. So hopefully everybody can do that and try something a little bit new. So Douglas, I appreciate you coming on the show today. I'm not gonna go all crazy and say sorry about the mishaps, because I think we held it down just fine, man. I think it's good, and we did a good job. So hey, you held it down. Next time we'll have to do the weather service, note, or maybe a silver alert or something like that, if you know what that is. I get them all the time in Florida. It's when an old person goes missing. So from silver alert. So
something new, and only in Florida, where there's a lot of old people, I guess, going missing enough to have an alert. There's a stereotype there somewhere. I'm sure.
Hey, there's more silver alerts than amber alerts. Put it that way. Which is great, but not at the same time. But Doug, appreciate you, man, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you. So have a good show.
Woo! All right, everyone. Well, first of all, great show with Doug. Learned so much from him. Had a great time, and just talking about the product. Again, the whole time I drank almost all of that juice. The honeycomb was amazing. I love honey. The comb and the wax, I don't know if I'm going to get to eating the whole wax. I still have a few left that I'm going to be able to go through. Really quick though, big shout out to all of our fancy sponsors on the show: Ag Tools, Flavor Wave, Noble Citrus, Buck Naked Onions, Awahi Produce, and John Green Logistics. A lot of these people were on the show watching today live, so 100% appreciate you. Another shout out to Citrus America. This juicer behind me, everyone, is making fresh juice. When you come to the studio live, when we start having live guests, and those will be sponsored very soon. We've got some fun stuff coming out for 2023. Yep, I do that on purpose, just for you can have the effect of the orange juice. John Papp, if you're still watching, they have styrofoam in my office. This is not me. I have ordered other ones and tumblers, but I just want you to know, buddy, because I know that you know that I know that you know that I know that you're passionate about sustainability. So I hate styrofoam too. But that being said, Thank you to Citrus America for the juice. We have been drinking this all the time. Thanks for all of our guests for joining on. We had well over 72 comments today. We will go through those comments and let you know who commented the most, whether it was Maddie Fisher or Ross, the produce boss. But as I say, everyone, we'll see you next week at the IFPA Global Summit, where we will be broadcasting, and we will be having fun, and we will be trying some new great products. So